What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Life's a Garden. Today's positive motivational message is question everything. If you're not actively trying to seek answers, especially to the things that you are suspicious about or uncertain about, then chances are you are blindly moving through your life. Now, some things don't require answers, but and also I think a lot of the times we don't want to know the truth. But at the same time, don't just accept what anybody tells you is the truth when you feel somewhere inside you it doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right. Whatever answers you've been given don't feel like the truth. Question everything. Question people's motivations, people's intentions. Why do things happen a certain way? Why do people talk to you a certain way? What are you trying to get from me? What is your motivation? What is your intention? And that could go so many different ways. We could talk about this on a broad level, on a personal level, but just be mindful to question things, especially those things that seem suspicious, because the truth will truly set you free. And today, we're going to question a lot of things on this episode. So let's go ahead and get into it. It's episode 210 of Life's a Garden. Oh my word. Water tastes absolutely wonderful on this day because I probably went on one of the hardest drinking benders I've had in a minute. And it wasn't to drown sorrows. It wasn't anything bad. It was actually really good. It was for a fun time. So my cousin Ezra, right? My cousin Ezra from Phoenix and his wife Jackie, they came up here on Thursday. And so I haven't seen him in 5 years maybe, something like that. 5, maybe 6 years. I have not seen him. And so we were all excited. He was supposed to come last weekend. He had to change his plans. It never worked out. So we were really excited to hear that he was coming this weekend, or this week, I suppose. Alive After 5's going on. We go meet up with him downtown. I got started off a little early. Probably a mistake. Didn't eat any food all day. I think I had something to eat early in the morning, but that was it. That didn't help nothing. And we just went hardcore. You got me, cousin Aaron, obviously cousin Ezra and Jackie, and then Uncle Mike was there. So all the Craigs, the few remaining Craigs that we have even left in this world on our side of the family that are of this generation, of the cousins, the first cousins, and the uncles. We're all hanging out together, and you get enough Craigs in the same room, it's bound to be pretty wild. So we're just drink, and even though I'm like, I'm not doing no more shots, I'm done with shots, nope, here's another shot. Oh my god. End up getting home, throwing up all over the place, which probably actually helped me. Next day, Friday, I gotta go to work, right? One of the roughest work days I've had in a very long time. But I'm thinking in my head, I was like, okay, just get through the day. You'll be fine. We're just gonna take the night off. We're gonna sleep. We're gonna just veg out and just have we went hard last night. We had our fun. Tonight, we're just gonna chill. Right? About 2 o'clock, I get a message from Ezra saying, our flights got canceled. So it looks like we're staying another night in Billings. And I believe my initial response to that was, fuck. And so I say, so are we ripping it up again tonight? And I think his initial response to that was, fuck. But we both knew. We both knew in our hearts it was on. So his flight got canceled because of that huge IT crash, that huge Microsoft IT crash that happened. Shut down a bunch of flights. Apparently a bunch of banks weren't working. A bunch of gas stations, like all this shit. All these just anything that was connected to the Microsoft system goes down. And that's terrifying because that just goes to show how completely reliant we are on technology right now. If the grid goes down, if just an IT issue, I don't know if they've came out and said that it was a cyber attack or if it was just some crazy mishap. But whatever it was, it fucked shit up hard for about 12 hours. And people were panicking. People were starting to... Apparently it was really bad in the big city. I didn't notice any of it because I was hungover as shit. The only thing I cared about was getting my brain back to normal function. And sleep. I slept in a little bit that day. I took a big nap at my lunch break, which saved my life. But yeah, so this IT thing, I mean, that's terrifying. It goes to show how fragile we have become and how reliant on technology. And if that goes away for 12 hours, people dissolve into chaos. Apparently, in the big cities, people were trying to draw their money out of the bank real quick because they thought, all our money is digital now. It's all on a fucking card. We don't see paper money hardly anymore. Even our money is tied up in technology. The cars now are all half technology with GPS systems and, if we want to pay for our gas, nobody carries paper money hardly anymore. It's terrifying to think all that would take is an IT crash. Somebody spills a little bit of water on the mainframe and oh my god, we are completely back in the Stone Age. So anyway, his flight gets canceled. Thank God they figured all that shit out pretty quickly, because that would have been pretty gnarly. He ends up staying another night here, and we go out and we go for round 2. Now, granted, we took it a little easier this time around. Chilled. Didn't go quite as hard. Definitely still stayed out fairly late, later than I would have wanted on a night just after going on a full rager. But it was definitely a lot better. Definitely more chill. And I ate some food. I ate more food that day, so that definitely helped too. There was no way I was going to go hard 2 rounds in a row. Nonetheless, very cool to see my cousin and getting to spend extra day. That's why I was like, dude, I'm not going to not go out. I don't care how bad I feel. And by the end of the day, when I actually went out, I felt pretty good. So that helped. It made the night a lot easier. So we went out. Got to spend 2 full days, or 2 full evenings, I should say, with my cousin Ezra and his wife. Very cool. Even got to go hang out with them in the morning before their flight actually finally got to leave. Hopefully they get their money back they had to buy extra plane tickets, and then they had to spend another night in a room, and then there was another day's rental on a vehicle. Hopefully they get all their money back for that, because that's bullshit. That's bullshit if they had to pay all that extra shit because somebody screwed up at Google or whatever it was, Microsoft. Yeah. Oh, and also on Friday, hey, congratulations to the Billings Outlaws. AFL champions, Arena Bowl 33, which is so crazy and cool because I've talked about it in the past where the number 3 has been a very iconic number in my life. It's a very notable number. That's why I always wear number 3 on my jerseys. That's my number on my Outlaws jersey is number 3. They win Arena Bowl 33, and this is the 3rd championship that I have seen the Outlaws win since I've been watching the Outlaws. How cool is that? How freaking cool is that? So shout out to the Outlaws winning Arena Bowl 33, the first year the AFL is back. And we win the whole thing. That's pretty awesome. I got to watch that on TV. They had it streaming on CBS Sports, whatever it was. So that was cool. So yeah, busy weekend full of a lot of alcohol, and now I have been rehydrating. I've been chilling all day. Don't have any plans on going out. I'm calling it a chill day today. Because I need it. I need a chill day. Freaking, speaking of the world just absolutely falling apart, right? You got all the shit going on in the political landscape. You got the IT shit, you know, this huge cyber attack or internet malfunction, whatever it was. That goes down. And then just the other day, I'm walking to work, and in the middle of the street, I'm not even kidding you, a sinkhole in the middle of the street here on 15th Street. And it wasn't like a giant sinkhole, you know, it wasn't like a car-sized sinkhole, but I could have crawled down into that hole. Like, it was a pretty decent-sized hole. Any regular-sized human being, a child would have gotten, for sure, lost in that hole. And it was deep. When I walked by it, at first I thought, okay, this is like some just pothole, right? That's the first thing I thought. And then I saw it was a little deeper, and I was like, oh shit, maybe they're doing maintenance on like one of the water lines right here or something. And the closer I'm getting, that shit was deep in the ground. Like, you couldn't see the bottom. And you could just see where, like, the asphalt and everything had fallen in. And, dude, sinkholes? Sinkholes are one of the most terrifying anomalies that happen on Earth. And sometimes they swallow entire buildings. Do you hear what I'm saying? So, or you'll be just driving on the road, and all of a sudden, the ground just gives away, and you are falling into the earth. How unbelievable is that even exists? And then I got one, 100 feet from my house going on, and I have had a crazy suspicion ever since I've lived in this house that I'm living on top of a potential sinkhole. Because the way my yard dips down in a certain area, it's weird. It dips down, and I've noticed, I think my house has been shifting slowly over time because of the ground being unlevel out there. Because I've noticed different cracks that have occurred in, like, the seams of my walls and my ceiling. And then I've noticed, outside my skirting on the side of my house has been, like, uneven, so that would indicate that the ground has been moving. So I'm just putting it out there right now. If I suddenly fall into a sinkhole, if my house gets swallowed up into a giant sinkhole, I pray it happens when I'm not here. Or at least when I'm not sleeping, because it's toward my bedroom area is where this potential sinkhole is. I'm just putting it out there right now that I was pretty concerned that was a possibility. And just pray that doesn't happen to me. Because it's sketchy as fuck. And sinkholes are terrifying. And then we got one just right by the house. I mean, that shows potential that there's maybe more in this area. So just letting y'all know. Just putting it out there. If I fall into a sinkhole, your boy called it. I guess that makes me look like an idiot in the end, because I already kind of thought that was possible. And then if I died that way, the way that I thought could potentially happen, and I did nothing to try and prevent it, I guess that's on me. So joke's on me, guys. If you see this later on down the road, if I'm eating my own words, and I'm like, hey, boy died in a sinkhole, but he knew that it was possibly going to happen, well, I guess joke's on me. Then you can laugh at my expense, if that's the case. Or if it happens while I'm living here, maybe I can sue somebody. Get a little extra bag, you know what I'm saying? Gotta love that. Alright. I told you we were going to start questioning things. We were going to dive into some real deep questions here, alright? And boy, oh boy, I got a lot of questions. Because last week on the show, I talked briefly about the Trump assassination attempt, right? This was when I talked about it on the podcast, it was less than 24 hours since it had happened, right? And I thought I was basically just giving my initial reaction, the shock of it all, just processing it in real time, just a few hours, like I said, it was less than 24 hours after it had happened. You got to gather a lot of information, you got to see kind of how it transpired, get all the facts and all the whatever information you can get, and in that time I didn't really have a lot of time to gather all that information. However, we are a full week removed from that incident, and let me just say, I got a lot of questions. And I have been obsessed with this whole thing. I've done deep dives. I've listened to all sides of the story, all sides of the aisle, different departments that have come out and made statements. I've looked deeply into this, okay? And there's a lot to get into. Now, before we actually do this, before I break some of this down from my perspective, let me make that very clear. This is not a factual... None of these are factual theories or anything of that nature. What I'm about to really dive into. These are my personal opinions. This is the way I'm interpreting the situation. And I'm going to try and do it from different angles, okay? I'm not just going to try and give you my take. I want to try and give other theories that have been thrown out there, other things that have been said. And in order to do this properly, in order to do this, according to the way it's going to come across, we're going to have to put on our tinfoil hats. Because things are about to get wonky up in this bitch. So, alright, gotta make sure I got my stem. I don't need nobody reading my brain waves here. Alright. We got our tinfoil hat on. Well, let me see. God. I've never actually worn one of these. There we go. We're ready to go. Brain waves are covered. Nobody's gonna steal my information here, even though it's probably already been stolen many a times. Got my antenna up, and we're ready to go. So, a lot of this, seemingly, at least to me, has been very suspicious. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, question everything. And when things seem questionable, I think it's only fair to ask some questions and to look for answers to things that seem peculiar, that seem suspicious. First and foremost, the assassination attempt comes just shortly after Joe Biden has an absolutely horrific performance at the debates. So much so that it called for all these big figures in the Democratic Party to denounce him and basically tell him to step down. All these major people, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, even Barack Obama, made comments pretty much urging President Joe Biden to step down from this race. And then he becomes defiant in that. He says, I'm still running. I think I'm good to go. Say what you want to say. I'm staying here. Now, you could say that was Biden's opinion. I do believe that he really wanted to keep running. I believe that he wanted to stay in this race. Because, most politicians... No, excuse me, scratch that. All politicians are fucking narcissists. They all think they have the right answers. And Joe Biden's a lifelong politician. This was his dream, was to become president. He got it. The last thing he wants to do is relinquish that. Plus, I'm sure there's plenty of people in the Biden camp, in the Biden administration, that wanted him to stay, because obviously then they all lose their jobs. They all lose their cash here, right? Their stake in this. So shortly after all this, after the Democratic Party seemingly is in complete disarray, right before the Republican National Convention, where Trump was set to accept the nomination, he happens to have an assassination attempt on his life that was this close to being successful. You hear what I'm saying? That already seems slightly suspicious. Now you have people on the left that are actually saying, this could have been staged by the Trump administration. And while I can see that being somewhat of a valid possibility, I can see where there is value in that. There's value in the fact that, Trump, because this whole event really did galvanize a lot of his supporters. And not only that, it made him just look like a strong possible candidate. It made him look like invincible. It made that image of him holding his fist up is going to be an iconic photo that you will see for the rest of your life. It'll be in history books. You know what I'm saying? Like, it made him look like gold. So I can see the benefit of trying to do that. But the fact that innocent people died, and you know what? I use that as an excuse. When have anybody who has ever tried to pull off some kind of conspiracy cared about innocent lives? So you can just throw that out the window. Either side of this, the fact that an innocent person died, that's collateral damage to these people. To anybody who's trying to have, so it seems like a logical thing to think. But the fact that there's that image of the bullet whizzing by his head, if they were going to fake this, don't you think that they would try harder to not actually kill him? And you could say that he fell to the ground and he made his own ear bleed. There's things like that. That's one side of this conspiracy here. But what seems more likely, okay? Does that seem more likely? Or does... Now, and the fact that the photographer was right there in those positions, that's what journalists do, though. That's what photographers are there to do, is to capture history. That's what they did. So, I don't know. But what seems more likely? That scenario? Or the scenario that... I'm not even going to say the left, okay? I'm going to say the deep state, okay? And if you don't believe in the deep state, we'll get into that here in a moment, because I can unpackage that all by itself. The deep state would be the ones that are involved in this. And that could be people on the right, on the left. They have no party. Their party is controlling the world, controlling the populace, keeping society in check. That is the goal of the deep state. Is to keep people in line and to have whatever direction they want things to go. They're the ones pulling the strings behind all of it. Red, blue, whatever it is. And so, more logically to me, it seems more logical that they would try and put somebody in place to kill the president that has been galvanizing people, that wants to, that is seemingly going to win this race after Biden's obvious decline, right? And we can get into why that even makes more sense now. But we'll get there. We're going to move this... Now we're going to move into the actual shooting itself. And all the suspicions that surround that. Okay? The fact that this guy, this kid, he was 20 years old. The fact that he was able to access a rooftop. And remember last week I told you there was that guy that said the first time he was at a Trump rally, there was gunmen everywhere, and this time around there was almost no security, like compared to the last time he had seen them. The fact that they didn't cover that roof with other security The fact that there was no security whatsoever around that. It was not a secure building. This kid was able to climb a ladder that supposedly he brought himself with a gun, climbs up the building, and is able to set himself up, put Trump in his sight line well enough to clip him in the ear. And I've seen all the breakdowns where, he had him, like, if he hadn't turned his head when he did, he would have died. It would have clipped him in the back of the head, and he most likely would have died. The fact that it grazed his ear. So the idea that this kid was able to do any of that without raising any suspicion by Secret Service is already completely unreal. The fact that there were people in attendance that noticed this kid, not only for the 10 minutes before the shooting happened, they were telling police officers, they were telling Secret Service people, there's somebody on that roof, there's somebody with a gun. The fact that he was walking around there an hour before Trump even hit the stage with a rangefinder, and nobody found that suspicious. The fact that you can see the Secret Service agent on the building behind Trump seemingly has his sights on the shooter. And only after the shooter fires do they make their contact. It looks to be that the shooter on the roof behind Trump has him in his sights, because after the shooting happens, boom, boom, shooter's down. They waited till after the shots rang out. And when asked, and not just that, the absolute pandemonium, the panic of the Secret Service agents, and what looked to be just complete flustered incompetence. There were Secret agents that just looked, Secret Service agents that just looked completely like thrown off and just and flustered. Isn't the job of a Secret Service agent to be calm, cool, collected, and react in real time? That is your job. And you have some of these just looking like panic. Now that itself, all of itself just shows it could be, you could chalk that up to incompetence easily. That easily could just be chalked up to incompetence. Or just a failure of whatever. But then, they're launching this whole investigation onto the Secret Service. And what was the failure? What was the breakdown? Why was this even allowed to happen? When asked, when the head director of the Secret Service was asked why that building wasn't secured, her excuse was that the roof was sloped, and so they didn't want to put Secret Service agents in a dangerous situation with a sloped roof. First of all, somebody was clearly able to access that roof and was just fine up there, putting them with a gun, standing up there. The shooter was just fine, and the gunman, the Secret Service agents behind Trump, what the fuck kind of roof were they standing on? Oh yeah, a sloped roof. In fact, it looked more sloped than the other one. So that's an absolutely terrible excuse. Why are they making up lies? Why are they making up crazy lies as to why they didn't secure that roof? That makes no sense. There's no reason for that to be their excuse as to why they didn't cover that roof. 140 yards, approximately, was the shoot. And for most marksmen, for most people that talk about shooting, that apparently, because I don't know shit about guns, I don't know shit about range and sights and all that shit, apparently that's a chip shot for any beginner. And this kid did take a marksman's class. Now let's get into the shooter real quick. Okay? Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this. Who employs the Secret Service director? Who is the person in charge of hiring the Secret Service director? The Biden administration. So we're already on that. The kid, the shooter. What is it? What's his name? Crooks? I can't remember his full name, but of course, as in all, is it David Crooks? I don't remember. David Frederick Crooks. All shooters like this always have to be referred to their middle name as well. It's their first, middle, and last name. It's always like that. I don't know why. So this kid, 20-year-old kid, attended a marksman's class in school. Apparently he was really bad. He wasn't a good shot. But he still had some level of interest in guns and in shooting, right? Apparently at his house they found multiple guns with multiple clips and bullets and rounds and bombs. They also found bombs. He was apparently he was a registered Republican, but he donated to a Democratic fund. He clearly liked guns, but wanted to assassinate Trump. So there's a lot of mixed things here, right? There's a lot of confusing mixed things with him, which shows to his character that he is easily persuaded to different things. He's not convicted to his he's not dedicated to any one conviction. That's what I'm trying to say. He could easily be persuaded to one side or the other, it seems. That's what it seems to be, right? He's very all over the place. And who is more... Who could you convince easier than somebody who has very open thoughts and is easily persuaded to other things, to radically different things, right? That seems like somebody you could persuade. I don't know all of his background. He seems like somebody who you could convince to do something wild like this. And apparently he was kind of a bully target. He was kind of a kid that got, he was kind of a not popular kid in school. These are very typical signs of somebody who, like a school shooter, or those are typical signs for things like that. And you could just say he acted alone. You could say that he was just doing something crazy, and that seems logical itself as well. He could just have been one of those kids who wanted to do something crazy and make his mark on the world, and right? So you could definitely say that. And I'm not saying that that's not the case. The fact that he was in a BlackRock commercial seems a little suspicious. BlackRock, for anybody who doesn't know, one of the biggest, richest companies in the entire world, buys up all the home. They've been actively buying all the homes, and that's effectively why the housing market is completely fucked. Is because this company has propped up. They've bought all these residential homes all across the United States. They're boosting prices. They're making it so you can't own. They want you to rent only. So they have effectively fucked us on the housing market. And who's somebody who wants to correct that? Donald Trump. So there's already a reason to get him out on BlackRock's side. And BlackRock, probably part of the deep state. Most likely part of the deep state. So there's a lot of motive here, is what I'm saying. There's a lot of reason why this kid could easily have been the selection by whatever agency, whatever power that be, that wanted to make this happen. And then it fails, right? And of course, in any of these scenarios with this kid, they get convinced. They think they're going to be a martyr. They think they're going to be some kind of hero, or they get promised other things like that he wouldn't be killed, and that they would arrest him, and that he would end up, whatever. You could say any number of things. But of course, again, when you're trying to do things like this, casualties happen. People are patsies. People are collateral damage. And in that case, they knew they were going to kill him. Because then you're covering all your tracks too. You're covering up all the tracks. There's no paper trail. There's no nothing. And anybody who's going to investigate this are probably involved in it. So they're not going to give you the real answers. The CIA, the FBI, all those fuckers are completely corrupt and easily in the pockets of this deep state that I'm referring to. They run on their own shit. And so the assassination fails, right? The RNC proceeds. Trump is completely galvanized at this point. He's got Hulk Hogan coming over. I mean, he has great speeches by Dana White. He's got great speeches by the president of the Teamsters of the union, which apparently he's like the president historically has never spoken at the RNC. First year that happened. He's got young African American influencers that are speaking. Like, he's got all the right people speaking. And this is just propping him up even more. And, by the way, there was people, apparently they arrested a few people that were outside the RNC building or close to the RNC building in ski masks and holding machetes and AK-47s and shit like that. So, not suspicious at all there. And then, so this assassination attempt fails. Trump gets propped up like crazy. And just today, Joe Biden officially backs out of the race. Even though for this whole time, even though he's been being asked to, he's been being suggested to, all of a sudden he backs out of the race. It seems a little coincidental that would happen after the assassination attempt failed. I mean, and you could go back to Occam's razor. Sometimes what it seems to be is actually what it is, right? Maybe this was just a failed assassination attempt that was completely random, that this kid just was a rogue individual that failed at this attempt. It made Trump happen to look good, already on the footsteps of Biden failing and being put into question by his own party, and then eventually he gets convinced to step down. Because now they want to prop up a different candidate that they think could potentially beat Trump. I think that's going to be really hard for them to do on short notice. Apparently, Joe Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris, who, if I'm not mistaken, has a worse approval rating than Joe Biden. Like, you thought Joe Biden can't speak? She can speak, but she speaks in, like, witch spells. She cackles like a witch, too. She's fucking nuts. I don't think people are going to get behind her. And on short notice, no matter who they select, because the DNC ultimately will get to select. The delegates will get to select whoever they want to be in. And ultimately, I don't think it's going to matter because there's not enough time to get the Democratic moderates to buy in to whatever this candidate will be selling. You're going to get the hardcore left-wingers. They're going to vote for whoever, which is crazy. Like, the fact that you're just going to vote for anybody, as long as they're wearing blue, anything but red, you know what I mean? Like, that's just, and that goes both ways. I think that's crazy when the right does it too, and they're just like, oh, we'll just vote for anybody, as long as they're wearing red. It's crazy either way. But what they're targeting are the moderates, the independents, the people in the middle. There's not going to be enough time for the Democratic Party now to sell you on whoever the candidate is. The best possibilities for them probably are Kamala Harris, because she's already been in the campaign. She's already been on the campaign trail with Biden. Or Robert Kennedy Jr. Robert Kennedy Jr. would be the second best option that they could do, because he's already been on the campaign trail, his own independent campaign trail. But they're not going to do it. They won't do it because they've already cut him down. They've already tried to destroy his reputation, and they've thrown so much dirt. I doubt he wants to even run as a Democrat, much less they're just not gonna prop him up after they've already talked so much shit on him. So their two best options are already a failure. Like, it's just not gonna happen. I do think this adds a little push for Robert Kennedy now as an independent. I think this really does add some weight to his campaign. But it's just crazy. It's crazy. And it just seems so coincidental. Like, everything is just happening, as a reaction to the next thing. Just think about it in the sense that, okay, let's just assume they tried to assassinate Trump. It failed. Well, now we got to go to plan B. And plan B is get Joe Biden out of there. Joe Biden contracts COVID randomly. Joe Biden, just crazily enough, contracts COVID right before he drops out of the race. After he said the one thing that would cause him to drop out is if he had a intense health issue. Well, what? Well, Lottie fucking da? He suddenly comes down with COVID after saying that? Bro, it just seems too, like, it's one of those situations where it's too good or it's too perfect to not have some weight to be true. If you put any thought behind it, there's too many questions that don't add up. It can't just be this cut and dry. And the reason I truly say this, the reason I truly believe that there is some real conspiracy behind all this, they've done it before. JFK, RFK Sr., Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln. They tried to do it with Reagan. This has happened over and over again in the political landscape. And what? Now, I'm not going to necessarily put Trump in this category just yet. But what do all those people I just mentioned have in common? They wanted to unite people. Think about Lincoln. Lincoln wanted to free the slaves and unite people. Think about Robert Kennedy and JFK. Their whole thing was right during the civil rights stuff. That was during, a wartime effort when they were trying to make it so we were uniting and not fighting. And then lo and behold, JFK gets killed and Lyndon B. Johnson comes in and we fully enter Vietnam. We were already pretty much in Vietnam at that point, but then we go full-fledged in. And then you have, like Martin Luther King. What did he want to do? He's the number one guy for trying to unite people. They fucking killed him. And when I say they, I am 100% referring to the CIA, the FBI, the deep state. They for sure did these things, in my opinion. I think it's because what better way to control a population than to keep them divided? They tried to do it with Reagan because Reagan united a huge portion of this country. Trump, look what Trump has done. Trump has galvanized a bunch of people. He has all these supporters that love him. And I know people say, well, that's kind of sick because it's very dictatorial. And I don't disagree with that. I think it is kind of ridiculous the amount of crazy followers he has. But then you have the moderate people that see what they see the difference between the left and the right now. They think like the left has completely detached themselves from people because they're not relatable. The right has become the more relatable party. Remember when Democrats used to be against war, when they used to be against violence and now they promote it. They promote violence. They used to be like the anti-bully, like peace, love. Think about John Lennon. What was John Lennon's message? It was peace and love. Fucking got killed. Do you think that's a coincidence? Do you think it's a coincidence that these high-profile people that get killed in cold blood in the middle of the street in front of the world, for the whole world to see, that all their messages were pretty similar and their end goal was the same? It was to unite people and to bring people together. The deep state doesn't want that. And yes, the CIA and the FBI, you could not convince me without a shadow of a doubt that Kennedy was not killed by the FBI or the CIA. And there's so many deeper things to that. You can talk about MK Ultra, where they literally used LSD and drugs to hypnotize the people in this. Apparently Jack Ruby, the guy who killed what's his name? Fucking the guy who killed Kennedy. Why can't I think of his name? Something. I'm rambling so much that my brain's scattered. It's all this tinfoil on my head that's causing me to. Yeah. Anyway, Jack Ruby. the guy who killed Kennedy's assassin, apparently was in the MK Ultra studies. You look at the whole situation, the Manson family. Apparently Charles Manson was involved in MK Ultra. And what was their whole motive? It was to kill high-profile white people and blame it on the black community to cause division in this country. It was meant to be a race war. The whole Manson family thing. It was meant to be blamed on black people and cause a race war. It failed. It's not perfect. None of it's perfect. Sometimes they fail. Just like in this case. They failed to kill Trump. And they are so afraid of Trump becoming president because they know Trump don't play ball. They want to stay in this war. That means money. They want to stay in war with Ukraine. They want to stay in war with Israel. Because it makes money for them, and it causes division. I know I sound like Alex Jones right now, like the way I'm being erratic. I'm talking loudly and crazy and saying a lot of wild shit. But if you just think about it for 2 seconds, and you question it at all, some of it seems very suspicious. And I'm not one to just accept the status quo and say, well, this is it just what it appears to be is what it is. Because that doesn't work for me. I don't like that. It seems too suspicious to not question it. And even Alex Jones came out and said the next thing that's going to happen. Well, first of all, he mentioned a cyber attack happening. This was before it actually happened. He mentioned they're going to have a cyber attack. They're going to shut shit down. And you could say that IT attack happened as or the IT shutdown, you could say that happened as a test run for before the election. Watch. You never know. If it happens again before the election, you tell me it's a conspiracy. You look at me and tell me it's not planned this way. Alex Jones came out and said before the election, there's going to be some kind of a race baiting, like they're going to have somebody go in and shoot up a black church or shoot up a black school and cause some kind of racial division again. And they're going to blame it on a Trump supporter. And that's going to cause what? Division. That's going to cause the people to be divided and say that Trump supporters are racist, that they're crazy, that they're, even though time and time again it's been proven to not be true. I'm sure there are a few of them out there that are racist, in fact. But the majority of Trump supporters, they are pro-America, and black people are part of America. We like the Trump supporters support people. They support the U.S. of A., where you can see growing more and more and more that is not the Democratic ideal. The Democratic ideal wants people to come into our country. They don't care about America first. They care about foreign wars. And so why would they want Trump dead? You tell me, after everything I just told you. What motivation do they have? Sounds to me like they have a fuck ton of motivation to do anything at all cost. Make sure that Donald Trump does not get into to be the president. And so with that, I take off my tinfoil hat because I think I've done enough conspiratorial ranting. But something for you all to think about. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying that that's the truth. But I'm saying some things seem very peculiar. Some things seem very suspicious. And when you start to look at it and ask some questions, sometimes the truth might just be right in front of you the whole time. But because you're told not to question things, all of a sudden you're the crazy person. So that's that. And then fucking Tenacious D goes down because of all this too. Fucking Kyle Gass has to come out and say, so they were having a show in Australia, and it was Kyle Gass's birthday, and they brought out a birthday cake and told Kyle Gass to make a birthday wish, and he said, I wish that they hadn't missed Trump, or I wish that they don't miss Trump next time. Now, I get it. They're comedians. They're comical guys. He's definitely just making a joke. It's a dark joke. It's a little bit too early, I would say. Did I find it funny? No. Did I find it In good taste? No. But at the same time, I don't think it's worth him getting canceled by his agency. I don't think it's worth him, them having to cancel their tour. I think it probably was just in poor taste. It'd be nice if he would have, I don't know if he issued an apology. I know Jack Black said that, he apologized and said that there was no place for speaking like that. We've seen this before. We saw it happen with Kathy Griffin. She held up the bloody Trump head. And I think sometimes things go a little step too far when you're advocating violence. Yes, that is probably not good. I think he was just trying to make some kind of a joke. It fell flat. Yeah, he should apologize. Do I think he should lose his entire livelihood over it? No. Just like when, you see this on both sides. You've seen plenty of left-wing people try and call out right-wing people for saying crazy shit and get them canceled. I don't know. It's got to be one way or the other. Either everybody gets canceled for shit like that, or nobody does. You can't be on one side or the other, because the whole right side is always like, ooh, cancel culture, like, the left is always... I will say this. The left really used to be the party against censorship. They used to be the party for free speech and not censorship. Actually, that's not even fucking true. They've always been for censorship, because I remember back in the day, when they were trying to censor music, it was Al Gore that was behind all that. So, yeah, I guess you could say the Democrats, the left wing has always been for censorship and always tried to monitor free speech. So that's another thing I'm not really cool with, and they've tried to ramp up even more. But like I said, the right wing gets so pissed off when the left tries to cancel people. So, and now they're trying to do it too. It's just like anything. It only suits your need when it's in your favor. And it's stupid. That's ridiculous. Okay. We've said all of that. I think I've got all my points across with the Trump stuff. Like I said, I have been very consumed by this. I've been very just obsessed with all of this. And like I said, with Biden dropping out, it just seems like, okay, that was the next step in this plan, because part of the plan failed, and now they got to pull Biden out of here. All of it seems very suspicious, but we're going to move on from that. Speaking of questioning things, I'm going to go on to a different topic here, and I got some more questions, okay? I got some questions, and my next question is, who the fuck came up with this ESPN top 100 athletes list? Who? Who were the deciding people who came up? ESPN just released an article. It was a list of the top 100 athletes from the year 2000 to present. So over the last 24 years, who have been the top 100 athletes, okay? And let me just say first and foremost, I think every athlete that was on this list is an amazing athlete. They deserve accolades. They deserve credit for being great athletes. But we are talking the entire sports landscape here, okay? And we are narrowing it down to 100, right? Now, I believe number 1 on this list was Michael Phelps, which actually surprised me. I figured he'd be in the top 5. Did not think they would actually put him at number 1. But that is very cool, and I'm cool with that. Like, I think that's a fine pick. Number 2 was Serena Williams. Do I think she should have been as high as number 2? Probably not, but she definitely deserves to be in the top 5, for sure. I think you probably could have said LeBron James at number 2. I think you could have said Tom Brady. I think number 3 was Lionel Messi. That made sense to me. Then you had LeBron. You had Tom Brady. I believe in the rest of the top 10, in no particular order, I know Kobe Bryant was in there. I think Tiger Woods was definitely in there. Who else rounded out the top 10? It was... I'm drawing a blank here. Eesh. Yeah, whatever it was. I'm not gonna try and like sit here and remember the whole thing. Whatever it was, I do remember thinking that the top 10 was accurate. I agreed with the top 10. Oh, Roger Federer was in there. Makes sense. I'm good with that. The top 10 made sense. I was cool with the top 10. I thought Peyton Manning was a little low on the list. I think he was 26. Nikola Jokic was 28. I thought that was awesome that he even got that high of credit. As much as they've tried to not credit him with stuff. Awesome that they put him on that list. And the majority of this list was definitely football, soccer, basketball, and I would say, let's see, it was definitely, and baseball. There was a lot of baseball players on there too. That made up the majority of this list. I'd say probably 60% of the list was those four sports, easily. And I'm speaking about men's basketball specifically. Soccer, well, you know what? If you're talking all basketball, it was probably 70% of the list was basketball, soccer, baseball, and football. Those were the main sports. And then you had some tennis, racing, Olympic sports, things like that. Now let me tell you what I have a problem with here. Okay? We are talking about the top 100 athletes over the last 24 years. And I got some statistics here. First things first. They had 8. Let me repeat that. 8 WNBA players on this list. 8. And the only reason as I said to start this off, no discredit to any of them. I think they're probably great athletes. They've done great things. But when you compare that to, they only had 3 boxers on this list. They had 2 MMA fighters, 3 hockey players. That is an absolute huge disrespect to those 3 sports. To fighting and hockey. Hockey is one of the toughest sports in the to play at all. It's one of the 4 major sports in the United States. And you put 3? You're saying out of the last 24 years, there's only 3 hockey players that are worth being in the top 100, yet 8 WNBA players deserve to be in this list. And let me just say this. There were WNBA players that weren't on this list that I think probably should have been. I'm pretty sure Sue Bird wasn't on this list. How does she not make the list? It's unbelievable. Out of 100 athletes, you put the only 2 MMA players or fighters to make this list were John Jones and George St. Pierre. And if there were going to be 2, it would definitely be those 2. Agreed 100%. Those are the 2 that would, if you could only pick 2, it'd be those 2. John Jones was number 66. He is one of the greatest fighters of all time. And yet you exclude Anderson Silva, you exclude Chuck Liddell, you exclude Randy Couture, Fedor Emelianenko. The list goes on. Israel Adesanya, Kamaru Usman, Francis Ngannou. 0 women's MMA fighters, by the way. Ronda Rousey. That ring a fucking bell? Amanda Nunes. What the fuck are we talking about here? The absolute disrespect to the MMA community in this list. Boxing. I believe the only ones were Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, and then I can't remember the other one. But there was only 3 boxers, 3 hockey players: Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, and Connor McDavid. Those are the obvious 3. But you're not going to maybe throw Nathan McKinnon in there? You're not going to maybe throw See, I'm trying to go back a ways. Because Gretzky was before this, so I can't say Gretzky. Because he would have definitely been on the list. I gotta think like there's some Boston Bruins guys that could have been on there. Maybe some of the Blackhawks guys back in the day. But and whatever, it's whatever. If you are so congested with this many athletes to fill out a full top 100, I understand leaving a few people off. But 8 WNBA players? You're telling me there are more WNBA players that are better than boxing, MMA, and hockey combined? What are we fucking talking about here? They had 6 tennis players. 6 tennis players and only 2 MMA fighters? Only 3 hockey players? What world are we living in, bro? Like, huh? Usain Bolt, that was the other one that was in the top 10. I get the oh, and Simone Biles was in the top 10 too. I get having the Olympic athletes, like they're great. They're athletes. That's what they do. You know, you get snowboarders, skiers, swimmers, things like that. Yeah, of course. I get that. I get all that. Golfing can be tough. I think there was only like maybe 5 golfers, men's and women's combined. 6 maybe. Racing, like race car driving, they had 3 race car drivers. And you only had 3 hockey players. You had 3 guys that drive a car. And you only had 2 dudes that get in a cage and punch each other in the face? What? That's just crazy to me. It's crazy to me. But still, overall, this is the absolute simping over the WNBA. The absolute simping. The way that ESPN has done this is just fucking unreal. And it makes me question everything, really. It makes me question who the fuck would make a list like that. Because guess what? It wouldn't have been me. Yeah, some WNBA players definitely would have made the list. Not 8 of them. Crazy. Go look at the list for yourself and you tell me what you think. Unreal. I can't even wrap my head around it. Just to wrap it up real quick, Russell Westbrook, speaking of basketball, Russell Westbrook joined the Denver Nuggets. I'm stoked about it, to be honest. I'm stoked because a lot of people are talking like it's not a great move, it's not going to help us out any. I disagree. I think he's going to bring energy off the bench. He's a veteran guy. We've seen Jamal Murray not be able to handle a full season for the last like 2 or 3 years. So if you need Russ to step up short time, he's been a starting point guard before. You add Russ and Jokic on the field at the same time, that's going to be an interesting combo. Russ definitely doesn't have the jump shot that he never really did have much of a jump shot, but he's an energy guy. He runs the court. He plays good defense. He'll drive the lane. That's something we need to add and incorporate. If he can play defense at all well, he'll fit in just fine. And Michael Malone will know how to utilize him. My only concern is that how will he gel with the team? Will he be kind of, is he going to be rough around the edges? Will he be easy to work with? We'll find that out in due time. The one thing I do know that I don't have to question is that I'm definitely getting a Russell Westbrook jersey because for as long as Russell Westbrook has been a player, I've been a huge fan of him. He's been a great player. He's been controversial at times. He's like spoken his mind, which I love that actually. I love that he'll speak his mind and talk shit and do all that. But he backs it up. He's an amazing player. He was a league MVP, leads in triple doubles, and I've always been a fan. And now he's wearing a Nuggets jersey. You best believe I'm going to be picking myself up one of those. So, super cool about the Russell Westbrook thing. I'm excited about it. Most people are talking shit about it. I'm stoked. I think it's going to be a great addition. It's just going to help the bench out. It's going to boost the bench. So I'm stoked. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate it so much. I know we went on a crazy Alex Jones rant. I went a full Alex Jones. They're putting chemicals in the water that are turning the fucking frogs gay. But it's all good. It's all for fun. It's all for entertainment. But just remember, keep in mind, not everything is as it appears. Question everything. Be open to questioning what people are trying to present to you as the truth. Because sometimes they're trying to put that veil over your eyes. And you got to push that away and try and see clearly. See through the bullshit and what could potentially be very hidden in plain sight. Yeah, question everything. Be open-minded. Be thoughtful. Be mindful. But most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it.
Just gotta keep on